comes up that they spend $50 million on a large like friend campaign, and everybody's like, why don't we do the same? Or why don't we do a Super Bowl ad? And it's because it's fucking stupid. And it's maybe smart if you have a lot of money and you're like going after the market share, you want everybody to talk about you. But from like a pure profitability, like the actual number of downloads perspective, it's not necessarily profitable.
It's 4 a.m. and we're rolling the dice. Matei drops knowledge made of gold and ice. Felix with ads making those coins rise. Jack up designs, worlds chasing the skies. We're the 2.5 gamers, the midnight crew. Talking UA adverts and game design too. Matei, Felix, Shaka bringing the insight. We're rocking those vibes till the early daylight. Matei, UA, master eyes on the prize. Tracking data through the cyberspace skies. Felix stacks dollars like a wizard in disguise. Jackup's crafted realms lift us to the highs. 2.5 gamers talking smack. Slow hockey stick, got your back. Ads are beautiful, they light the way. Click it fast, don't delay.
Oh, hello. Hello there. I didn't see you. Thank you very much for coming to this episode. It's brought to you by our sponsors, PVX Partners, the simplest and most effective credit line for marketing. If you're scaling your business and need funding, here's the deal. With PVX Partners, you can grow your game easily in your business. There's no equity dilution. You can repay as you get paid, and it's flexible, fast, and fully tailored to your growth. So you can secure funding in 30 days and get a term sheet in just 24 hours. Don't you wait. Take control of your UA budget without giving away a piece of your company. Visit pvxpartners.com and see how they can help you grow your game faster and stronger. Don't wait. Go to pvxpartners.com. And while you have you here, we also want to thank our sponsors, Vibe.co, because this episode is brought to you by them as well. They can help you grow your brand on CTV ads. With Vibe, you can launch high-impact campaigns across top streaming platforms like Hulu, Roku, Tubi, and whatever else. I mean, all from one simple dashboard. We don't have all of these in Europe. Anyway, so it's built for brand all sizes. It's rated on 4.8 out of 5 on G2 for a reason. Join over 5,000 marketing teams already scaling with streaming TV. Visit vibe.co to get started. That's vibe.co. Join them. And thank you very much for joining us for this special episode. Now let's get back to it. Thank you. Keeping the glasses on the whole time.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. My name is Matej Lančarič.
And I am Joseph Kim.
And we are your hosts for today. We have a very special episode because we have a third guest, but you don't know her or his identity. We'll keep it anonymous. Let's call it Dr. Doom. Let's call it Dr. Doom. Also, because we're going to ask some very direct questions. Maybe we'll piss off a few people, maybe a lot of people. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I definitely want to do it more often. So anyone out there, if you like this and you want to come on the podcast to talk the real stuff, come on. So let me know afterwards. Okay. So... Where should we start?
Maybe just to set the stage for the audience.
Yeah.
Dr. Doom, can you tell us a little bit about, maybe like don't identify yourself, but maybe talk about your background from an expertise perspective in terms of like, you know, the kind of work you've done or the kind of expertise that you have.
No,
perfect. Very good.
Okay. Well, let me just say we've got one of the brightest minds in
the gaming
mobile
industry.
growth,
gaming,
and we'll just set it. We'll just leave it there because we do not want him to be identified.
Yeah, I did spend all the money.
Her, yes.
Okay, good. Well, I did spend a lot of money as well. That's why I have the protection, the glasses on, so we can keep ourselves safe. Anyway, so should we start with the who is the most overrated studio in the mobile gaming right now, and why everybody can or why they can get away with this? But what does it even mean overrated, right?
Yeah. What where do you want to go with this? Since we've got a UA angle, do you mean so? There's a couple of ways we could go with this, right?
Yeah.
Overrated could mean that there's a lot of hype and the performance isn't there. The other thing could be that you've got some of these game studios that are charting really high in terms of top grossing, but the actual financial metrics in terms of like free cash flow or profitability does not match their top grossing ranks. That's another way. And then the third that's kind of coming up more is just there are a lot of like these overhyped early stage studios that got a ton of funding, but are basically fraudulent or things like that. So there's a lot of different ways we can go. I assume from the UA angle, are we going to talk more about top grossing relative to profitability?
I would say that because there are a lot of, well, not a lot, but few companies out there. We talked about one game already, and I think we don't really need to go there anymore. But yeah, like growth, a lot of spend, but then there's the question if the spend is like, what's the context for the level of spend they are doing, and if they are kind of reaching the profitability or the hype around all the UA spending, basically.
Yeah, I think it's good to talk about it, but in terms of the payback windows, like does this money ever pay back or not? We can talk about Dream Games. I'm okay, like because it's very relevant. I wouldn't say it's the most overrated, but it's definitely overrated, like their strategy, and we can explain why.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good topic. Even with the recent kind of celebrity campaign.
Right. And could you characterize it? So just for the audience, if they're not aware of like some of the financial disclosures behind Dream, as well as like, and obviously they're doing great from a top grossing perspective. They've been ranking in the top 3 to 5 globally for the last few years. They've been dominating from a RPD perspective as well. They're showing extremely high RPD, but they were not profitable. And so maybe Dr. Doom, do you want to? I'll just that'll be my tee up. Over to you.
Yeah, I think they're really going after the market share, and it's really questionable whether this money ever pays back. And one of the biggest challenges of being a UA professional nowadays is that every 2 years, someone like Dream Games comes up and they spend $50 million on a large like brand campaign, and everybody's like, why don't we do the same, or why don't we do a Super Bowl ad? And it's because it's fucking stupid. And like it's maybe smart if you have a lot of money and you're like going after the market share, you want everybody to talk about you, but from like a pure profitability, like the actual number of downloads perspective, it's not necessarily profitable. And you can look at the Royal Kingdom downloads and revenue growth. It's not as exponential as what people would expect after such a large campaign. And again,
wait. It's like it's not even 2 weeks after the celebrity campaign started.
$50 million. $50 million.
Where's that $50 million coming from? Come on, like 50?
Every single celebrity is probably like $3-4 million. These guys are like super expensive.
Let's say it's 20. Let's say it's 20, and it's basically all over their UA channels. It's everywhere on Facebook, on Google. So it's not only like a celebrity campaign, meaning like they're doing the TV only, but it's like actually in the creatives, in the campaign. So they're spending against it.
But would you expect more downloads as a result of that? I mean, they are driving more downloads for sure, but would you expect to get to me more downloads as a result of a $20 million more budget? I
mean, I think what people are not actually comparing these two, which I think they started doing this, which was Coin Master back in the days with J-Lo, Terry Crews, and all the Kardashians and everything. Back then, I think it was like 2017-18, I guess. I need to check and do the comparison, a fair comparison. Like it increased revenue by a lot, but there was a lot. So in this case, it might be just not really matching the, I guess, expectations. But whose expectations? The market or the UA experts' expectations? I mean, this is a match-free game which is going to pay back in 2 years or maybe never. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's 2 weeks only. I mean, like I play Royal Kingdom. I'm level, I don't know, like 200 something, and I paid maybe like twice or 3 times only, and I paid played this game since we reviewed it on the podcast. So right now I'm getting to the point where I really need to pay more, and it's like 3 months since I started. So now it's not really a good time to actually kind of measure this against the revenue increase. Then the installs, maybe.
Yeah,
But can't,
it
sorry,
go ahead.
Dr. Doom, but can't we say that this, like to some degree, you could say Dream's overrated, but at the same time, isn't this the strategy that's existed over the last 10
Yeah.
years from every startup is to, and like, there's all these people in the industry where they see the top grossing charts and they're like, oh, those guys are doing so well. And it's like, are you like,
How would you know?
how many
How would
times do you need to be fooled, motherfucker? You know, it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like all these companies try to chart up and then sell, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It seems so naive when so many people in you know, friends of ours are basically like, this company is doing so great, and then you see like Glue post acquisition, you know, and so many like startups post investment or acquisition, they just fall, and it's just like, guys, something was fundamentally broken with the UA model. And like, why do we not learn these lessons? I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry
It
for
comes
that
down,
rant, Dr.
yeah, it comes down to RPD, which is what you mentioned earlier. We had a really good game. It basically advertises on its own. So it's fairly easy to advertise Raw Match, just like spend more money. That's how it works. But, you know, I think it's a little too early for that. And I think they're also doing themselves nothing, you know, they're not really helping themselves with two games that are named very similarly and look very similar. And now they have a brand campaign for both games. It's going to be really hard for a consumer to distinguish. But again, this is in my personal opinion, not necessarily a data-driven fact. So it is to be seen what's going to happen.
Yeah, look, they're increasing the revenue in the last couple of weeks and months. It's going up, and I'm not sure if we are in the position to actually say this is a flop or this is a great thing. Obviously, it's everybody says, oh, this is insane, and I mean, yes, the installs per day only 5x from 100,000 to 500,000 per day. So I guess it's doing something. So I wouldn't say it isn't.
I think the I guess the tailwinds or like the positive aspect of Dream being able to acquire more aggressively than other companies though is because of the genre of game. And when you think about the retention of that kind of a match 3 game is generally very, very long, right? So I think the danger comes when other games try to acquire in the same way with longer payback windows when you don't have the stickiness of the players. So Dr. Doom, what do you think? Is that am I right in making that kind of an assumption that because it's match 3 and for certain genres, sure, like, you know, we saw that with, for example, slots and casino games, that they were the first ones to go dramatically longer payback windows, and it kind of made sense for them. But from your perspective, in terms of, you know, when you look at the profitability of Candy Crush, does Dream eventually get there? Is that basically okay for them?
Yeah, 100%. I think especially if Royal Match, Match 3 games have a ridiculous long-term retention. Like when we're talking about 2-3 year retention, it's really high. It's higher than what's the case with, you know, like most of the mid-core games like the United retention. And that's why you have these big Mesh 3 publishers who stand against, 3, 4, 5, 6 year payback windows. And that's what no one talks about. One of the biggest topics at GDC was like, oh, we paid the money back in 6 months. No, you do not.
No.
It just does
exactly.
like
No,
6
it
months.
doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it's not realistic anymore. Like if you paid money back in 6 months, your game will be growing like, you know, mushrooms or whatever is the saying.
Yeah.
So that's not the case. Something, you know, you're not tracking it the right way. So when you look at these games, like let's say Royal Match, and let's say they spend $30 to $50 million a month on your way, you know, they're generating significantly more, and they're essentially in the game of like, you know, growing their market share further, not necessarily in the game of let's pay the money back came the most efficient beta. So
Yeah.
and they can do that because of their really great long-term retention. I mean, look at it as like day 60 or 12%. Like
day 90 Royal
yeah.
Match 10%, day 90 10%. I mean, and this is basically a straight line afterwards. Like it's insane.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, and that's basically if you follow Andrew Cham, he says that successful businesses are those that have like where the rotation curve flattens after a while, and you see that here. So basically, after day 30, the player there's almost no churn, and that's why Royal Match is printing money. And Royal Kingdom, I don't know. I mean, but at the same time, they have to grow. They raised a ton of money. I don't say they're overrated. They're definitely not overrated, but they're also not having you easy as most people think. You know, they had to make some compromises in order to support this growth.
Right. And just so for our audience, so again, we're not taking out of context and shit like that, right? We're not saying that Dream Games and Royal Match are failures or this or that. It's just that relative to their grossing rank, it would be better if they had a higher free cash flow profile or something along those lines.
Yeah. But since they're a private company, they don't really care about that much. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So that I guess that's the right angle to talk about it. But you know, a great company, a great success, a success like the industry needed for the longest time.
Yeah.
So you know, all the best about the Dream Games.
Yeah, and maybe like one thing I would like to ask you about Dr. Doom is that I think the other thing that happens a lot when it comes to the stories that we tell, either internally and externally, and how this comes is through a couple of things. One is like the UA models that are built internally, and the fact that UA folks they have to show that they're successful. So the incentive of a UA manager is to tell everyone in management that they're doing great.
Yeah.
And so internally, what I have often seen is a lot of window dressing, right? Where, and Dr. Doom, you can tell us about your own experiences along those lines as well. But then it's like, hey, this game is doing great. Look at this cohort. Look at iOS US only.
200 people.
and then like these small stories are then kind of wrapped and then told to management. And I think the truth of the matter is most management in gaming are not the highest IQ people, if I'm just being honest. And so they'll hear something that a UA manager says, and then they'll brag about it. Oh yeah, this game is doing so great. Our ROAS is freaking fantastic. Our UA spend is only 25% of this or that. You know what I'm saying?
No, like, 100%. You know, they come to me and say like, you know, day 70 is 35%, but your day 90 is 40. So who gives the fuck? You need to look at it from a more holistic angle. And you need to understand the curves. And the most important thing is you need to understand the measurement. Well, like how things are measured internally. And I think most companies don't really notice. You know, like, is this user an existing user or a new user? Like, is this user level beta? Does this user level beta come from AppsFlyer or internal database? And then how do you essentially dedupe and properly track and generate LTV curves of those players? It's super easy to make LTV curves or like ROAS curves look really good if you take into account existing players, because most of these players who are in the game after day 90, they're payers. And essentially, you know, they generate a lot of revenue every week. And if you treat them as new players, then, you know, your cohorts are going to look great. So I think there's a lot of, there's an overall lack of understanding of how measurement works on the UA side. And it can make things even worse.
Right.
Then because of that, you know, some people are like, our UA team is great. And our revenue is not growing. We don't know why. Our data is declining desperately. Why? There's this like mass inertia from the path that you know we don't really know how to fight, but auto UA is doing well. Well, it's not. You know, the role of the role of surprise. You know, the role of a UA team is to grow games, not to maintain their decline.
So it kind of seems like there's kind of two aspects of like the internal overrated UA growth team or UA performance, right? One is a UA model that and everyone's incentivized to spend. And so that UA model is going to be very aggressive often. And so then a lot of executives take that UA model as truth, even though it's a forecast or an estimation of what could happen under certain, Excel spreadsheet scenarios with anyone who can just adjust numbers really quickly and make things look good. So that's one. And the second are the stories that are told internally, because a UA manager wants to get their bonus, and so they're going to window dress some stuff to let people in management know, hey, we're doing great. Look at this.
Yeah.
So
look at this, don't look at there. Don't look there,
right.
Look at this. It's like the classic.
The danger, I think, is in internally management teams who don't understand and they get bullshitted. Is my take on this.
Yeah, that definitely happens. And I also think with private companies, they really want to paint this super positive, thoughtful picture and say, we're doing great. And they're looking for angles to say that, right? Because they're trying to raise money and, their numbers look, their, earnings and like your numbers are not really public and it's harder to argue how well or not well they're doing. So that's really where it comes from. I think, it's another controversial topic we can cover. The best example are all these exotic PP channels that look really, really good early on, but then they just look like shit 3 weeks later. Not all of these, MudPay is an expert here. Not all of the networks operate this way, but a good chunk of them does. And again, they make your early numbers look good. They make your shitty, shitty LTV projections even better. Or worse, depends on the angle. But yeah, Mati, I think you want to say something.
Yeah. So based on all these rewarded UA channels they're great, but you can't evaluate them with the same lenses as the other UA channels, because yes, you're using LTV projections, and then suddenly the first 7 days look amazing, of course, because you have the rewards tied to the day 7, or even if you do like day 30 and then you tie the rewards to day 30, but then afterwards people churn immediately, and then your LTV prediction is fucked immediately, because you're counting with amazing numbers, let's say on year 1 or year 2, but then there's no one playing the game anymore because they churned, they claim the reward, bye, thank you very much. So yes, that happens so often these days. But I mean, they're not doing anything wrong. It's just how that channel worked, basically. It's just that the UA managers don't really see beyond the point of day 7, day 30, because look, the prediction is amazing. Yeah. Thank you very much.
100%.
See you next time.
And it's essentially how incentivized traffic always worked.
Yeah.
It's just these guys are, 3 years old and they don't really understand how different traffic types mature, and based on that, their LTV curves are not adjusted. The way they measure things is not adjusted. So, that's why.
But that's essentially, this also comes back to the relationship between the UA managers and the management or the founders. Because I had few different engagements where I was brought into the team, and the CEO asked me look, so I have no idea how to evaluate my UA team because I don't understand how it works. I was like, what the fuck are you, how can you even manage the company? And there were 3 people managing 10,000, spend of 10,000 per day. I was like, why do you have 3 people on the UA? This can be done by half of the person. Seriously. Oh, but I didn't know. What do you mean you didn't know? I mean, you don't talk to people, or you just don't listen to people talking around you, or you just don't go to conference? 3 people managing 10,000 daily, that's insane. So yeah, there's something fundamentally wrong with the whole flow of how the UA works. And then if founder doesn't really know, that's a problem.
But it's common, and I don't think a lot of gaming founders understand why UA is so important. And obviously we're UA guys, and we're always going to toot our own horn. But we're talking about industry that has 90% day 7 churn, or 80%. So if you don't drive users, you're not growing. So essentially, you're super dependent on user acquisition. Other industries it's not really like this. If you look at software as a service or subscription, it's a little different. But when you talk about gaming specifically, you depend on user acquisition a lot, unless you are Candy Crush. And
since I'm not the UA expert, but I represent the sort of gaming executive and founder. I do agree with Mate. Like if you are in mobile, like mobile gaming, it's product, live ops, and growth. You have to understand all three. If you don't, there's a problem. You need somebody on your team to understand it, to oversee things, and to try to get that organizational optimization so that you're not getting bullshitted and you're running things efficiently as per what Mate just suggested, in my opinion.
You're
Yeah, of course.
doomed.
Yeah, no, but because then it's your own company, and I mean, if your UA sucks and you don't understand how it works, like it's not gonna last long until you run out of money if it's not managed well. And honestly, it's your problem. It's your problem. It's your problem because you don't understand, and you should. It's like I always say, every founder, at least 1 or 2 campaigns, you just go to that fucking Facebook dashboard, you click 5 times, you have a campaign, at least you know how it's done, and then you kind of manage it for a week, and that's enough. But at least you know how it works, and then that opens your mind so much, so much.
Sounds like a business idea.
All right, did we just finish our first question?
Yeah.
We have like
It don't like only 30 minutes.
Only 20 minutes. Only 20 minutes. Yeah, it's fine. It's gonna be a lot of fun. No, but I think then the question I think you touched a little bit is there's the scan, and then there's the UA managers. They're kind of trying to get the bonuses because of the 7 targets or whatever else. But then it's really funny to see some of the young guns out there that started doing UA and running them, and they think like they know everything. They were not there before, which again opens your mind so much that you know what worked 2013, 14. So you were there basically. So all of the new stuff like Web2 app and all of this, I mean, I was there. I mean, I can remember it wasn't called Web2 app. I was there when there was this like different creatives, which wasn't really called misleading or fake ads back in the days, but they were there. They were there.
The entire time, yeah. If you grew up in the Travion era and Eager European, you know this, and eRepublic, all these web browser games, they had these leading ads back in 2005. So it's not new at all. I mean, you know, Machine Zone playables were misleading ads.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, no one thought about it, and Machine Zone was getting punished for that, so they had to have the playable in the game. So all these things had them in the past. It's just you guys are young and you know nothing. So
shots fired.
I'm sorry.
So who are these young guys? The only UA guys I know are like Umate and like Warren and you know,
we are not
Josh Stanley's coming up, but like
we are not young anymore. It's like you open LinkedIn and there's a lot of these people, which is it's okay. It's okay. That's how we're getting old and
it's
old.
Not okay to share when they're saying it's okay to just.
I'm kidding.
No,
I think the biggest change is really we can dive, you know, that deeper in this topic. But the biggest change is that, you know, UAD became way simpler since 2020, 2021. And essentially everybody's doing ROAS campaigns, and all you need to do is change bids and creatives. And that's why every single new age UA manager keeps talking about creatives all the fucking time. Like creatives are the only thing you can do. They're not. And then they're like, okay, how do we test creatives? And they don't really understand how to test creatives because they don't really understand how algorithms work.
Yeah.
So, and that's really why it pays to be old and wise like us.
No, it's like I'm at the point where I read something on LinkedIn or in Slack channels or somewhere, and I'm getting so annoyed and pissed at the same time because I see it's wrong, but I don't know if I should interfere or if I should let it go. Because if people are just getting this information which are ultimately wrong, like it's gonna spread like wildfire everywhere, and then people are just gonna be stupid afterwards because they're but he said that, she said that, and it's like, but this is not how it works. It's not how it works. I was I don't know how to get out of this situation. Basically,
I'd say that you're pretty active at telling them they're not doing the right thing.
maybe.
Yeah, to put it nicely.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, that's fine. You know, you don't like it. The industry also, I feel, is further apart than when it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of events, people don't really talk to each other that much. Like back in 2010s, we were a closed community wherever they talked to each other. There was a bunch of events at a time.
Mhm.
I don't, or maybe I'm still old, but I don't really see a lot of those events anymore. You know, that's quite different. And then everybody has their own opinions about things, you know, scan being one of them. And these are like pretty technical things that you need to figure out as a community, not necessarily as an individual person, because of the
Yeah.
lack of information and because of all the bullshit that was, you know, spread around scan and everything scan related. So, and I think we're missing out on that fun because we are not operating as one or trying together to figure out the hardest problem in the industry, which is that.
Yeah. Yeah, measurement. Yeah, you're right that people don't really share that much anymore, or not don't share it much anymore. But it's like sharing with just one purpose and one purpose only, just to benefit on their own, not like to benefit as like you said, like the community. Honestly, like the scan, that's a big problem that like nobody was able to understand properly how it works, the technical side of things. It's really hard, and then people like like it's gonna change with Doom, UA is dead. Like I'm not sure like how that evolved. It's not that at all. It's just it's hard to understand properly, and it's okay. It's okay if you don't. It's just people are really afraid to admit like, oh well, I don't understand this because then I can't do my job properly.
All right, let's get to some spicy questions. What's the spiciest? I don't think we're going to get through every question. So what's the spiciest thing we can ask Dr. Doom?
This is the origin story. The Avengers are coming, you know?
We need like 6 more episodes.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't worry. This is just like the teaser for the next episodes. But I think the one we have with the large creative teams coming from China is pretty interesting and then important as well, because then we have all the Chinese companies coming to get and conquer all the top grossing charts.
Yeah. Right.
Insane teams.
So just to set the stage for the audience, it's been rumored or on good confidence that some of
it's
these
not rumored, JK. It's not rumored. We know it's.
We know. Yeah, but but basically some of these top grossing games out of China have huge creative teams. Some reported as much as 300 plus people. Dr. Doom, does that make sense?
Yes.
And what are these people doing? And if these Chinese studios can have 300 creative folks per game, what makes sense for a Western game studio to do?
Yeah, just for context, an old man talking. Players had 150 people on the creative team for the longest time. Like Players was known at the time for having a really, really big creative team. So the question is, why did they have 300 people? First, it's not super expensive to have a large creative team in China. It's my understanding. I don't have a lot of data to support this. So that's one reason. Second reason is that these are mostly Forex games or hardcore games that, you know, depend heavily on creative diversification. So in order to promote a Forex game today, it's incredibly competitive. You're going to pay $100, $200 CPIs. The only way for you to survive and grow is to find hierarchy creatives that have somewhat reasonable retention. And essentially, they only do is just like they send browse campaigns and they keep trying to find creative winners in order to lower their CPI and scale again. And really, I have to give a lot of credit to Players because Players really invented this, where, you know, they started as a master game, then they moved to like decorations, they moved to hold the pin. I mean, Mate knows all these different creative concepts, but they only did massive UA bursts whenever they would unlock a new creative concept that does really well on the IKM front.
Yeah.
And Chinese developers, you know, they're extremely more aggressive. They have deeper pockets. these games are printing money. I mean, like Whiteout Survival and
4 million
the
a
last
day.
war are making like $1 billion+ a year globally. So they, for them, 300 creative people, but they don't cost as much as developers. They work for 6 days a week, and they turn out like a ton of creatives. It makes total sense because they are spending a ton of money, and their number one job is to lower the cost. And how you do that is with creative. Now, whether 300 people is like too much or not, that's a separate discussion. But we've seen this before, and it makes sense from like it's logical. I'm not certain whether it's it's the best way to invest money, but definitely makes sense to invest money to a certain extent. Maybe 120 people.
Well, the thing is, like, it's not possible to do it in the US. Like, full stop.
100%. Yes. And to be honest, like, we can talk shit about the US too. I think, Chinese developers are eating our lunch or Western developers' lunch because they're just outworking us.
Yeah.
And they keep trying. They build games faster. They operate games, more efficiently, and they build more ads and test more things that they do it for better. So if you look at like Last War and Whiteout Survival, if you asked me 3 years ago, it's impossible to scale a Forex game, I would tell you
no.
fucking I would say no. It's fucking stupid. Just like launch a casual game. Like only casual games are growing. Do like a marriage to a game, whatever. But look at them, $1 billion+, dollar businesses out of nowhere. So
well, it's not out of nowhere, right? Like they're like all these guys are good old friends, as we discussed with JK in our Forex episode. Like this is the next generation of Forex. I've been talking to the guys from China and even Heaven from Century Games. He mentioned there are gonna be hundreds of Forex games coming from Chinese studios in the next couple of months. And I'm talking to other people from the West. Everybody's now just, there's a Forex. They're printing money. Let's do a Forex game. It's like, well, good luck. Good luck with that. So, and it's not definitely not out of nowhere. And honestly, with the 300 people in the creative teams, yes, I'm not sure like what are they doing, but anyway, you said it correctly. Like they need to drive down the CPIs and decrease the CPIs. How we do it? Creative volume. Absolutely. But the thing is, like, how they do creative research, you 100 of them just come to the office and they just browse the internet and then find trends, what works, like what other people are doing. They copy the concepts immediately, like from like one day to another, and then bam, that's how we do it.
But Dr. Doom, would you say that this level of I guess investment and resource around creatives, is that specific to Forex or only specific genres? And would you also say that if you are a Western studio trying to do Forex, given that you can't hire 300 people from a cost structure perspective, should you just avoid Forex?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think it really depends on how deep your pockets are. Because the thing with Forex is, your conversion rates are going to be lower, like payer conversion rates. Your CPIs are going to be higher. So to make something like Webinar work, where you need whatever, like 10 conversions a pay, you really need deep pockets. And in order to test creatives at scale, you need even deeper pockets. So it's really a question of, if it's Fun Plus and they have like a ton of money, sure, you can give it a try. If you're a smaller developer, unless you can raise a ton of money and you really have a ton of experience, let's say Machine Zone guys, it's going to be really, really hard to make it successful because you can't do it without super deep pockets unless you casualize it or make it slightly more accessible than what's the case with the current.
Even if you do that, you still need either the Forex expertise or UI expertise to make it happen. And like now the overlap of people just very much decreased, that they have either one of these or both. It's like very few of the people.
I think there's also an information advantage that the Chinese studios have, because just speaking from my own experience when I was at FunPlus back in the day, we had a lot of information.
Oh yeah. I
don't think the Western studios have the information.
We were in Shanghai, China Joy, and we were talking to the developers, and they said, look, the TikTok guys or the reps, like they shared the data from like your company to all the competition. Like they don't care. Like so everybody knows everything immediately, even before before the actual team members.
It's
so yeah,
all about execution.
Yeah.
One thing that's different, though, compared to, again, 2015, is that it's so much easier for
Chinese developers to scale their games in the Western markets. Like, if you think about, 10 years ago, they had to figure out how to like work with Facebook and Google. Not only do you go to a plugin and just like, here's all my money, just bring me
But
payers.
you just said with uploading is very tough.
It's tough, but they have deep pockets. That's what I meant by deep pockets. And again, they spend elsewhere, but I think F1 made it significantly easier for non-Western developers to scale their games in the Western market.
Yeah, I mean, recently, definitely, yes. When I look at the actual UA channel portfolio of the Last War and Forex, Last War and Whiteout Survival, it's very balanced, especially on Whiteout Survival. They're spending like 20-30% on like all of the big channels. The Last War is skewed always more towards the Google. So yeah, and all the Chinese games basically, Forex or anything more hardcore-ish, it's mainly, and from the experience I had with working with some of the Chinese studios, they were always big on Facebook and Google, and tried uploading in other channels and never succeeded that well because they don't have that experience and expertise running the uploading. Now, yes, it's a little bit better. It unlocks scale immediately within few buttons.
And then just change creative over and over again.
Yeah, you need
Use your 300-person team too.
No, but honestly, like all the big Forex games, they have engines where they build the creatives. So in that case, like that should significantly make your creative process way more efficient, basically. Then you have a lot of AI stuff coming on the creative side, and especially from the Chinese studios on the Forex front. So yeah, like the 300 people, it's quite a lot. I would say 100 is already a lot, but still, I think manageable. And I would say Whiteout has 100 people like in the creative team. Oh, we'll see.
Hey, Mate, so you've been actively doing stuff with AI.
Yeah.
When do you think that AI overcomes that 300-person creative team advantage?
Well, next year.
Next year. Okay.
Absolutely. We're just talking about this with Jakub, and we already see some kind of spillovers from the AI hooks into the actual creative work. So we talked about it on the Creative Trends podcast, where Dream Games they were testing few different AI hooks, and then there was one especially that I guess that worked. Then they transferred into the game kind of art style and everything, and just improved it. But until we have AI just replace the whole creative team, there's a lot of work on the way until we get there.
And Dr. Doom, what about on your side? Are you seeing in the industry a lot of folks using AI for creatives or for growth applications of any kind besides creatives?
Yeah, for everything. I'm currently interested in just like the content side of AI, and the amount of content that's generated with AI, YouTube content, TikTok content, it's insane. And for creatives, at least for live action stuff, I mean, Clink got so much better in the past like 6 months. It's insane. Like the stuff you can create. So making videos, 3D videos, tube videos with Clink, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you kind of have to do it. I think for playables, for any kind of in-game gameplay stuff, we need to build workflows to make AI work for us, but it's inevitable. It's incredibly fast and incredibly cheap. So I don't see a reason why anyone would not play around with AI. I guess the main reason is the legal side of things and regulations. Like, not everyone wants to do that, but it's a no-brainer. It just makes sense to do it.
Yeah. Okay, and with that in mind, I think we should pause here. Keep the rest of the questions for the next Dr. Doom episode, if you agree.
I've got one last question.
Okay.
One last question for Dr. Doom, because like back in the day, I'm over 5 years out of touch, but there used to be ways in which you can bot downloads and things like that. And I think one of the questions you were going to ask, Mate, was like, the kind of like the download performance of some hyper casual and casual games. And it used to be that you could pay for with very little amounts of money. Like way back in the day, it used to be like, I think $8,000 to get top 3 downloads in the US. And I put a chart in the notes for you guys. That was an old pricing sheet that I got.
Yeah,
so
I
that's,
see.
That's not,
Yeah.
that just to be clear, that's not something that anyone should do. But it used to be the case that you could pay to rank for downloads or anything like that. And I'm sure many studios back in the day used that to get investment and things like that. Is that still possible today? And if so, what are the prices like in today's market?
Yeah, it's possible. It makes no sense though.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yet, I think we'll talk about it in the next 2 episodes. I think platforms fail to help developers with organic growth, and it's just getting worse. Organics are tanking across the board for everyone. And essentially, the reason why it makes no sense is that the incremental downloads you're gonna get from like a top 3 position are not worth the investment. So you can still drive bot downloads, you can still get cheap installs, but it's really questionable what's the quality of those installs going to be and what is the actual incremental value you're going to get in the US and tier 1 markets from that particular placement. So
Right.
so that's why it's not as common,
Right. And
but it's possible.
The impact of featuring has come down a lot too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
absolutely
Yeah.
try to find the top 3 chart in the App Store. It's near impossible.
Right.
And Google swapped all the free placements with paid placements. So, it's really hard to drive organic downloads nowadays.
Okay.
So kind of doesn't make sense to do it,
Got it.
at scale.
Okay.
Exactly. Now that nobody does it, it's still kind of possible, and there are still some review buying and all of this like dark hat SEO, ASO stuff. So it's still happening. It's still happening.
I heard
but
that side is still like I heard just recently some people are still doing that kind of stuff, like the
of course.
App Store reviews and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, people are doing some crazy shit out there that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
But thank God we are here to talk about it and unpack all of these parts. Anyway, okay, good. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Dr. Doom, for coming. I'm pretty sure that we see each other again in the near future. And yeah, until next time. Thank you very much. Cheers.